Hello, namaskar. It's 3rd of May today. It's around 10 to 10, 9:58 p.m. And I'm at home here in San Road. I'm Rajesh. And today I'm making a video. It's around Indian Arrival Day, on May the 5th, and there'll be a lot of programs. Usually there's a Indian Arrival Committee that do a lot of programs together. Dancing, culture, food, dress, games, activities, and so on. Sometimes there are visitors coming in from the islands, from Suriname. And so I don't know what they plan this week, Mr. Yusuf Prasad and Mr. Pradeep Samtani. Pradeep Samtani was an Indian national, a Sindhi. He used to be with the Bhagwan's General Store there in Water Street. They used to have yearly program. I remember approaching him twice or a couple of times, asking for permission to do some hatha yoga demonstration. But they would say, oh, they have everything pre-planned and planned out already. They don't need anything. I could just attend the program or so. After Pradeep Santani passed away, I remember it was during the COVID time. They tried to even keep it during that. So I guess they will persist this year also, despite the adverse social situation and so on. They will persist in their culture and tradition to cook up something, to botch up something together. So maybe it will be online during the COVID time. They had them online. You have to watch on the television, on the internet, and so we don't know Facebook. I think I saw it. I can't remember where Mr. Yusuf Prasad, I remember doing his last program, Indian Arrival Day program. So there's an Indian Arrival Day committee that looks into this. For me, feeling my Indianness or connecting to my Indian root, it's not through food or through dress or through a village, an Indian village that they um, put up and they decorate. This year there was a Ramadan village in which Muslim Indians identified with their Islamic halves, Islamic nature. So they created a village and they had a very good time there. Um, so I don't know if they'll do anything for this arrival but for me, the real connection to my Indian roots was by the practice of yoga, practice of Indian spirituality. And though it's not easy, there are tests and challenges many times. So it's not it's very challenging, and you have to keep persistent and keep at it all the time. um I remember they used to say that it's a difficult life. The spiritual life is not easy. I asked one Filipino woman one time. She said it's had a lot of problems. Some kind, it can be very challenging sometimes. So for me, I find Ananda Marg is not just something new or a sect. It's a culmination of eras. There are different eras where different masters and saints appear and give a formula or a prescription for humanity to help them emerge out of spiritual crisis, a spiritual pandemic. And this is what he gives us to impart and to absorb positive energy, what's known as positive microbiome, which can nourish the body, the mind, and the spirit. So no matter where you are, you can able to connect with something sattvic, something spiritual, something that will nourish and keep you healthy, strong, and well. Like I said earlier in some earlier videos, it's good if you can start young, because the same mind is a laboratory. And by using the techniques given, you will have many years to experiment, to cogitate upon, to play with them, to live with them and learn the nooks and crannies of the spiritual planes and the spiritual life. You know? So it's good if you can start early. Good if you can start early. I find that today, after all many years, daughters used to tell me, don't read too much on the marg, too much books outside of the marg. Read Baba books first. Shushananda Mutiji, read his books first. Once I remember when Nigo Dada was trying to implement the Ananda Marg here in Guyana, asking, where are the books? I read so much yoga books, famous yoga books, Autobiography of a Yogi, Kundalini Yoga. I read Sivananda books. I read Vivekananda books. I read all these masters and saints. So you wish that they say, oh, you want books? No, you want books. You're interested in books. I can bring plenty books here. You weren't able to read. And Anna Marga's plenty books. I never see any on the market. I never see any popular. Why, like the other books that you would find, other spiritual classics. Can't find them. What happened? He said, don't worry, they will become famous in time. In time. They say he used to tell us, after the master died, then a movement, then an org becomes famous, and the master becomes famous. But when he's alive, it's hardly, and usually not so popular. He's usually not so well known, and so on. So through the yoga and through these spiritual teachings, a master enhances the culture of the region in which he comes. For example, Nanamurtiji, he did a lot. They say his contribution to the planet Earth was positive. He made a lot of positive contributions. And one of it was in culture. He gave so many songs. 5018 Prabhat Samgeet that bring out the flavor and the melody. Rich culture tapestry, what they would call it, that can awaken parts of you that were dormant and live in you, bring you back to life. It makes you sometimes wonder about a part of you that was forgotten. Something like a deja vu. When you hear these songs and they touch you and they go into your sap, you kind of feel that you've been there before. You experienced this mood before, this, what they call in yoga term, a bhava. Mystical moment, a deep mystical fragrant moment you experience, and you say, what, I've been there before. This feeling looks familiar. It's come from some long past era, some long past bygone time. I remember as a young child, when I was studying, I was very good at my studies. I remember maybe 2 or 3 times I was studying late in the night for exams, and suddenly a bliss would overcome me, a feeling of, a mood of all conquering, of able to understand everything, able to absorb everything, and it would fill me up with so much contentment, so much love for life, for the universe, so much desire to be good, to be happy, to be kind, to be more better human being. But as you came in contact with worldly philosophy and worldly doctrines, these moods, I don't feel them back again. At one time when you went to UG, I feel a little spark of it. And during those times, I remember my whole body would change. It'd be like a light all over. I am thinking back now and looking back at those experiences, it was a kind of samadhi, intellectual samadhi, probably a study samadhi. When you study, when you are young, you're pure and innocent, and those that beauty or this anointing, kind of like you take it around with you and people would notice it. What is like an intellectual aura, which the yogis call tejas. And so sometimes in childhood you have these deep fragrant moments when you're operating at a higher plane, or when you're like that situation here in an environment that we were living in the government institution, educational institution. It more precipitates that kind of feeling because there was less antagonistic input from outer or external sources, from what we would call um, tinctured tinctured input, or sordid sources. They were there in that hospitality tone, natural, clean, and healthy health education status. So you could have easily connected with that. Your spirit soul could have connected in that environment and felt some form of upliftment, I would think. I don't feel that kind of mood when I'm studying today. It rarely comes. And so people have had these kind of thing as child growing up, various form of happiness and simplicity of being and experiencing. So these are all labeled, they are tagged, they are defined in the yogic books, in the spiritual books, whether in the intellectual field or the devotional field or the service oriental field known as karma yoga, or the music field in bhakti yoga. All these all come out in one form or another. But they say the easiest way to um, evoke these moods is through bhakti yoga. It's in this dark era where all things are in a disordered and disarray, and they're not properly arranged or categorized in a properly way. They say you can experience that by singing the name of God, being emotional, involved in emotional songs, and so on. So life prepares people, and life gives you the sparks and gives you the ignition towards higher experiences and um, divine moods called bhavas, bhava, B-H-A-V-A, bhava, madhura bhava, and these kind of things, radhika bhava. These are bhavas. But you have to study bhakti yoga, and I think the Hare Krishna here in Guyana, you can get a lot of information on bhakti yoga. In the Ananda Mark system, it's an integral yoga. They combine karma, they do service, they have schools, they do feeding program, they do gardening master units, they do community living, they have do a lot of work, and so education, music, and all these things. Then they have mystic training, like retreats. They teach you meditation. You can learn mantras and all these things to foster the texture and the tapestry, the colorful tapestry of the mind. And you can also practice Gyan Yoga, which is intellectual stuff. You read and analyze and understand things through the intellect. And so if you have a good intellect, or you're a very standard man in the intellectual exercises and gymnastics, you can quickly transfer it into the spiritual field. Of course, it's easier when you're young, because when you get older, it kind of like the mind becomes stiff, the bones are stiff, the body is stiff, and it's kind of a little troublesome to we should say become involved or to adapt, into the spiritual societies, the secret societies. Speaking of secret societies, I remember Gurdjieff during this time here, these times like Indian Arrival Day and their festive days. I remember the story of the Gurdjieff, the famous Gurdjieff, George, what's his name? George Gurdjieff. When he went to Iran, I think, or it was Iraq, he went to learn mysticism, and he bring out this famous dance technique. If you check on the net, you can find some dance move, Gurdjieff dances or Gurdjieff moves. That they blindfolded him when they were taking him into the secret society, the secret place. They put a band around his eyes and put him on a horse, and they went through different turns and move different journeys until he reached there. They took the band off. He find himself in this big university, spiritual university, where they were practicing healing and meditation. on all manner of things. So that was his experience in Iran. When the heavens know where that place is he was speaking about. He was a Russian man. So I think the movie is not so famous around these parts here, It might be more in the PAL 2 system where you play the videos, the PAL and the NTSC, it's in the PAL. So George Gurdjieff left a lot of work. They see he was an enlightened master. He came from the West. I don't know if we can have that in the Caribbean one day. I don't know. There was one man who wrote a book on Gurudom in the Caribbean. His name was, what was his name again? Maharaj. Ravi Maharaj or Ralph Maharaj. I can't remember his name. He wrote the book Death of a Guru. So which he's explaining that Trinidad had a rich Hindu culture long ago in the 1800s, early 1900s. And the Brahmins there experienced a lot of Hindu mysticism and Hindu symptoms, and which were not conducive to the ideal mystical flavor and the ideal mystical relish that you would find in Christianity, Orthodox Christianity. So you can read that book, Death of a Guru, where we have in the Caribbean. So maybe if we try to revive that, it might be good for us all. So now, speaking about, I find that my own experiences in another Marxism of yoga is very good. It's very mystic. It's very deep. I've had a lot of doubts about the guru at times in the years bygone. It was hard for me to understand the guru concept because I was fed upon the Murti worship, the devatas and the gods and the forces. I not know so much about Tantra, though it's a form of Hinduism. And I don't know so much about it, but you gotta, like I saying, these here parts here in the Caribbean, they are not much to exercise your choice, you just have a norm, something, and you take the best of what the good, and in fact, the best came to us, the missionaries brought it. And it's only if you practice after a long time that you start getting to the mechanics of it, into the depth of Tantra, the fascination that awaits you, that will pull you into an adventurous um, voyage of inner life, inner experience. So it's a very good, it's when I practice it, my desire to read more about Vedas, to study other religions, and so curiosity start to wake. But if I decrease my meditation and I'm not so strict, the interest also dies away for those other schools of meditation and so on. So when I first was initiated, I was a little bit scared about Guru. Today I'm beginning to open out and understand the marvel of Guru Bhakti Yoga and how fortunate. It's not so much different. You don't lose anything, you gain. The Guru is a portal through which you will get to meet Vishnu, Shiva, and get into the spiritual realm. He's a portal, he's the opening, the doorway. He's the intermediate. It's called Taraka Brahma. And so he offers you, it's not easy to get such kind of great gurus that are so powerful, so elevated, has so much spiritual knowledge and can do so many things. The acharyas and the teachers there, they have taught so many things. They have shared their experiences with the gurus in books like Ashutosh Baba, Living with Baba, Unforgettable Memories, Sambhavani by Dhruvanand, Travels with a Mystic Master by Dharma Vedanand. Then you have Dharma Devananda also wrote a book, the Indian Dharma Devananda. What's his name again? That book, I don't know where it just disappeared. I hope I get back a copy one day, or maybe they will have some copies available. And then that what's his name? Saman Vyananda wrote a very beautiful book, Secrecy of Tantra 1 and 2. I had a part 1. I don't know where that went to, that disappeared. It was a very nice book to have. Hope all these books will be reprinted. Another beautiful book I read is by I read a part of it is by Yogi Umesh Chandra. He wrote Yoga Darshan too. That's a very good book. Recently I found a very cheap copy on the net. I bought it quickly before because the other copies are selling very high price. Can't afford, it's asking for like 200, 300, 100 and something. Can't afford that. So somebody was selling one for $20. So I just kept it. The part one it was though. Maybe India will make more copies, more publish newer edition and so on. We don't know as yet. So we see a war is going on right now with India and Pakistan. They are half brothers. They are brothers. They were pure brothers before, but many of them who became Muslims, I think they are hybrids, half Indian breed, and so today there are difference and division in the Indian school, the Indian culture, and so we hope this war will end soon and people will get back to normal living and improve their conduct, their appreciation for non-violence, which is needed in the practice of the yama niyamas in the yoga system. So when I got initiation, I was doing part lesson one, and they said depend upon how well you master and you progress through the lessons, they will give you higher lessons. Now, one of the beautiful thing about yoga is that the wild energy, the on harness energy in the body is like it's in enthalpy, entropy. It's wild. It's blazing in all directions. It's um, topsy-turvy. It's like sparks of electricity inside of you. Sometimes if you don't have proper guidance and you get caught in the negative force, it's hard to get back your balance, and it will take some time. But this meditation technique help to harness the discord that you may have or you find yourself in. There's a way out of everything. There are mantras, so many mantras. If you read the book, the Shabara mantras that the Nath yogis use that were given by Goraknath, and they have it in these villages that they use. Any little thing you solve any problem, you can use this Sabara mantra. It removes. People have these like folk remedies. Any little problem you have in everyday life, you can use this mantra to help to dissolve the problem. But here in Ananamarg, they say the lesson one or the mantras that the Guru given, so is enough. They can handle everything, they do everything, they bring back everything, they give you everything. Now I remember one yogi. He was there at the Indian Cultural Center. I don't want to call his name. It was in New Orleans. Around the mid 1990s, I would go there sometime when I met him. And he told me, he said, don't go anywhere, stay right where Alana Marg, you will get everything. He became a Swami later on. He was a single household, a family man. But later on, he became a Swami. So, there's good in it, it's not so bad. I mean, there are a lot of talk and rumors about what they call another more defensive stance against society, against people, against primitive we should say philosophy that is not supportive or helpful. Sometimes they have showdown and conflict, but these are all on the defensive side, where they have to protect their ashram, themselves, their philosophy, their beliefs. So when you get your lesson one and you do it, first thing you feel is that a control of all these volcanic activities within your system, within your body, that is breaking down your stance, your composure, your wholesomeness. So the mantra gradually absorbs the body energy. And when the teacher observes that you have a certain like power over yourself, and so he gives lesson two. The lesson's so good for the memory. It makes you alert, and checks the energy discharge from the body, that the body loses, energy. There are 9 openings in the body, they say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And energy, and you get relief through these 9 openings. You feel weak, feel tired. You can't think, you can't concentrate. You lose all the energy around the head, just like it drain out somewhere. They see if you repeat them, if you use the mantra properly, when needed, as they teach you, you can gain a lot more control over the elements, the 5 elements. Once you start controlling the elements, you control the whole of creation, the whole of nature. So subtle and so deep you will go. So lesson 2 is a powerful lesson if you get it. It's a good practice, challenging. So then you go on to lesson 3. That's when the occult power starts stepping. You have to become vegetarian, give up onion and garlic. Lesson 1, 2, you could don't eat, so important for vegetarianism. I remember the early days, I was thinking that you have to be vegetarian from lesson 1, because Swamiji's, they used to always tell me, you have to become vegetarian, you have to give up onion and meat, and so I had to stop that from lesson 1. And so at lesson 3 now, they tell you here now, they say you most definitely and absolutely have to give up the onion, the garlic, the meat, you know. And that's when the occult power start coming, your body complexion change, your appetite improve, your body get light, and so some of the powers. Matter of fact, I shouldn't even be talking about those powers. But if you do very strict, and so you will start getting some experience. And in lesson 4, the pranayama, they say the guru give this pranayama. It's a little bit different from the traditional pranayama. Not much different, just teeny weeny difference. And when you do it, it's good not to mix it with other types of pranayama, which I was doing younger. I was doing hatha yoga pranayama, Vedic pranayama, like Bastrika. I was doing Kumbhaka. I was doing what do you want to call Plavani pranayama. I did the one with Satali, Sitkari. I did alternate nostril breathing. I did so many the bee pranayama to make the humming song. I experimented with them, but one day Swamiji told me, he said, don't do all this pranayama, not to mix them. The Baba bless this pranayama in the lessons that you got, known as Sahaj Yoga. He blessed it. So when you do it, you will get more. When that master, enlightened master, give you a technique, it's more. These hatha yogis who invented these pranayamas and who had these pranayamas over centuries and decades, that Guru Shiva himself, the pranayama that he's blessed, will be far more powerful. So the techniques of a master who is liberated and realized and enlightened is not to be taken. That lessons he give you, the techniques is very powerful. And now when that time this now I'm realizing after decades that all these were truth. These are the pranayamas. You don't really need them. But to counter what I heard though, that these same pranayamas that are in traditional Hinduism, they're right here in Alamark, but in the Vishesh Yoga lessons, in the other techniques that they give, in other forms, they're there also. So in my system, Sahaja Yoga, we do a simple pranayama. Let's say in that way, when you're doing it, you have to be very careful what you think, what you ideate on. That it will make things. It could be very dangerous, and it could be very good also. So you have to be very careful about it. It's very subtle. If you not do it properly, you could get sick, you could get cold, you could get fever, your immune system can break down. It can also heal you when the body is sick, any part of the body, and when you do this pranayama and take prana, the life force, you send it to any part of the body, it can heal it. But a teacher has to, if you have a chair in the country, that's why it's very good that Guyanese people or whoever should try to get an achari in the country. That's the presence there. Bring good luck. It helps, you know. It fosters, makes things easier. I was gaffing with one young man just before I came off of Facebook and I relinquished my account. He was telling me, he said he want to get initiated in animal, but he's living in a country, in a nation, and they do not have an animal there. They do not. Teachers visit occasionally, but right now a teacher didn't come for a long time. So he was telling me that he's going to travel and he's going to that country, choose a country where they have a center and a teacher, and he's going to get initiated and so. So when the teachers are there in any country, you can feel a protection, a force that is protective. That is like an aura around the whole place. You can feel at peace, like some positive power is there. It may not be strong like the guru himself. Remember, these teachers, the acharyas, they have been given the authority to be representative of the enlightened master, the guru himself. So they are doing the work, they are doing the representative of the guru himself. So wherever they go, they will transmit the teaching, the techniques, and they will teach you, Like I was reading a book that in the East and Asia, they have teachers who pass through various villages, through Tibet, through China, through Malaysia, through Cambodia, through Taiwan. They give techniques, they give teachings, and people learn, the lay people, the farmers, the poor, the sick, the helpless, and as time goes by, they gain cities, mean the power to conquer over limitations in their life, whether it's body, physical limitation, mental or spiritual. But of course, that's their tradition, it's their nation. And like many visitors and travelers, if you have money, you could go see those things. But then again, what level you can see at? Maybe it's just on the superficial, the external, exterior level. You don't know, right? But for the deeper one, it calls for, a kind of harmony, a kind of frequency band, a kind of tuning in. So when you got a lesson 4, it's very good. And the lesson 5 that you get in Sahaj Yoga, it's very good also. It teaches you to use the chakras to help clean up the body, and so, the microvita sadhana does that with your guru, only give to a few acharyas. If you have bad vibration of bad energy come into any spirit, any negative energy there, you can clean it up very fast if you use microvita sadhana. Only few acharyas got microvita sadhana. I know the one of the acharyas who told me he got this was Dhyananand, but he's working in Portugal right now. He told me he was one of the fortunate dollars who got microvita sadhana.